Everyone hates you.
Hello, and welcome to Everyone Hates You, a podcast with me, Michelle Shaughnessy, where we talk about rejections and failures. Normally, I do a very self-deprecating intro about all the rejections and failures I've had, but I'm not going to do that today, and I will explain why after I introduce the guest. Today, I have comedian and podcaster Mark Simmons.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So before we get to you, I'm just going to explain something quickly. So normally I intro and I talk about what a loser I am. But I go through these phases where I get really into manifesting.
Oh.
And I do it for like 4 days. I'm like, this is it. I'm positive. If you believe it, you can achieve it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is bullshit. And I give up. But right now I'm back in my manifestation mind mode.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to say what a loser I am, because then the universe is going to hear that and will keep me always being a loser.
But the trouble is, if that works, you've got a dead podcast.
I know. But you know what? If I can,
you'll be happy.
If I can manifest everything I want, I will not need this podcast.
Yeah.
And the 9 listeners I have so far can find something else to do.
The trouble is, if you had loads of episodes, surely you haven't got that many rejections and things to talk about.
You'd think.
Do you keep finding them?
I do. But you know what? I feel like for this podcast, it's been really hard so far to keep the guests on track in terms of like rejections and failures. Like some people just don't want to open up about it. I think.
Oh, I'm ready.
So you had me on your pod and I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
I thought it was great. It's Jokes.
Jokes with Mark Simmons.
Jokes with Mark Simmons.
Yeah, where we chat about jokes that you can't get to work. So that is linked to this podcast because that's rejection.
It is.
So when those jokes don't work, that's an instant rejection. I mean, there's stand-ups. If you don't like rejection, it's a bad job really, because you're opening yourself up to rejection every single gig.
I
really.
know.
Even like you could smash an entire gig, but one joke you get rejected.
And then that sits with you the whole time too.
Yeah.
Or like the one person that doesn't laugh.
Oh yeah, loads of people fixate on those people. I never look at those. I never notice those people, as in because they're never there. No, because I just don't look at them like that. I tend to scan the audience rather than looking at individuals. But loads of people talk about noticing the one person that's not laughing. But the trouble is, quite often that person will come up to you afterwards and go, I had the best time.
It's true.
Because some people just don't laugh.
I don't laugh out loud.
No, there you go.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Like I just go, ha,
that's good to know.
Funny,
in case I say something funny now and you don't laugh, I know that it's not rejection.
That's my fake laugh. Was that good?
I liked it.
No,
so if you can edit that and then just add it on the end of everything I say.
I laugh when I'm like with a friend and stuff, but even when I'm watching like a comedy movie, it puts me in work mode.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, that's funny. I wish I thought of that. Or why did that work? You know?
Any time I watch normal comedy, I don't really laugh out loud.
What's normal comedy?
Just like what you could consider traditional stand-up.
Okay.
But what makes me laugh is watching the acts that are a bit wacky or weird, or because I don't understand how it works. Like with stand-up, when I understand how it works, I don't find it as funny because I know what they're doing. I can admire it, but I don't go, But if it's someone like Brian Gittins or like Paul Foot or something like that, then it's just, I don't know how they're doing this. That's when I laugh.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like a surprise. Because if you know how things work, then it's not a surprise, is it?
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, so...
I wonder if I laugh at that stuff. I'm going to pay more attention next time I'm watching a wacky I think I do too. And you know what? You shouldn't laugh at this, but sometimes I laugh when I think something's funny and nobody in the audience is laughing. Yeah. That makes me, like, that's really funny.
Yeah, so that... The idea, I find that funny as well, but only since I've got better at stand-up, and now I know I can do stand-up. Mm-hmm. When I'd say a joke, especially a joke that I know works everywhere else, and it doesn't get anything, I find that funny because it's mad. It's mad that you've said this thing hundreds of times and it's always worked, and this one room it doesn't. It's weird, isn't it? So I actually, if I'm dying, if I ever have a death, I start giggling to myself because I just think it's so mental. But what tends to happen is, if you're giggling to yourself, you look comfortable. So sometimes that can save one of those gigs, and they can come round. That's what I find, because when you're dying and you panic and you're nervous and you start talking quicker and you're sweating, they just know it makes them more uncomfortable. But if you're relaxed in that situation, then sometimes you can save it, I find.
Do you ever acknowledge it?
Yeah, there's ways of acknowledging it, because it's a fine line, because you don't want to come across, you don't want to do this normally works, it's your shit audience. You've got to try and angle it. It's like, because I do one-liners, you can sort of angle it that hey guys, just sometimes, people don't get one-liners and, but you just do it that way. So they're not, you've got to try and convince them that it's not you that's not funny. It's just, they just don't get it. Do you know what I mean? So
I get that.
So when I used to do jonglers gigs, I'm not a natural jonglers act. Did you ever do? No, you were too late.
But I've heard all about them.
Yeah, so they're very clubby and they're not like a comedy savvy sort of audience.
No, I heard it was like booze first, comedy last kind of thing. Like that was their priorities there.
Yeah, and booze.
And booze again.
Stroke.
Okay. Yeah.
So I found that when it wasn't working, if I comment in a way of sort of saying, yeah, some of these are thinkers, and then you're almost sort of telling them, oh, we're the ones that aren't quite getting it. And sometimes that can sort of tune them in. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you don't mention it at all, they're just going, this is rubbish. I don't get this. This isn't funny. But if you're sort of angle it like, explain to them why it's not working. It's a fine line.
Yeah, I do that sometimes too. Or I just ask what they want to talk about, or I go into the audience.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like if I don't acknowledge it, they're sitting there being like, "Does she think she's doing a good job?"
Yeah. But you got to acknowledge it in a way that you're not defeated.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Acknowledge it in a way that I am good at this. This is just,
Yeah.
But if you acknowledge it, go, oh, you guys don't think I'm very funny. Oh, no. Then it comes across that you're not very good. Do you know what I mean?
That's a really good point. And sometimes maybe we aren't as good as we think we are.
Yeah, well, no, we are.
Okay, I like that. All right, you're very positive. You know what? I'm manifesting. We're really good.
Yeah, but we are, because we've got to this point. We've done it. We've smashed gigs. So there's a reason. I don't buy into this. You can't blame an audience. I don't think you should blame an audience, but I don't think you should always say it's your fault.
Okay.
Because it isn't always your fault. Because if you've done it loads of times and it always works, then that's not on you. If you can cock up and say something stupid, but but normally if you're performing well and it's not working, there's a reason there. For me, it's like sometimes audiences just don't like one-liners. And if they don't like one-liners, that's an uphill battle.
That's a long set for you.
Yeah,
like one-liners.
Exactly. So you got to convince them. That's the
okay.
But it's also, how's the room set out? Is it a high ceiling, the laughs disappear? They don't know why the laughs haven't stayed in the room. They don't understand that. Or are they separated, not close together and sort of get that atmosphere? Are there big round tables? Are the front row miles away from you? Are there people whispering and no one realizes that's why they keep getting distracted and they're not focused on? There's so many reasons.
Yeah, I wish I could think like that. I just get off stage and I go, I suck.
Absolutely
I failed at life.
I used to do that.
Okay.
I can really remember so many journeys home after bad gigs in London on the train back to Kent. So I remember looking in the window, but the reflection and just going, I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I doing this?
I do that a lot.
And the next day you have a good gig and you're on top of the world. It's completely
weird how we can have ups and downs like that, huh?
But once you get good, you need to remember you're good.
Okay.
And then there's and not let it beat you up. That's what I think.
The whole manifestation thing that I do is right now I'm on this kick where you say to yourself in the mirror, where you say, my name is Michelle Shaughnessy and only good things happen to me. Things are always working out for me, no matter how it seems. So I try to say that to myself like 100 times a day.
Yeah.
And again, I'll do this for 4 days. And then next time you see me, I'm going to be like, fuck, it doesn't work. The universe hates me.
Yeah. But have you found that works in the past? As a thing,
I mean,
I've never done that.
It keeps me positive when I do it. And I also have a lucky bamboo plant that I touch and I say it.
Okay.
Or my money plant where I say, I always have more money than I need. Money is attracted to me, and I'll do that sometimes, and I feel like that works.
Interesting.
I know.
I do think. I feel like that's an extreme version of it.
I'm very extreme.
Yeah, because I have done things where I've said I want to get this by this point. And quite often it happens.
I haven't tried manifesting a specific thing yet. That's they say to start small and start to like manifest a cup of coffee, like things like that. You know? So I'm going to try that because I did try to manifest something a little bigger and it didn't work at all. Okay. And then I gave up on manifesting for like 2 months.
Right. Okay. Because I remember a friend of mine got on telly at 34 years old, and I said to myself, okay. That's my goal. I want to be on TV by then. And then when I was 34, that's when I did TV. So is that a coincidence, or is that you're sort of, I don't know, what is that manifestation? Is that what?
Maybe. I mean, it sounds like it. Like if you put it out there and you got it, that sounds like the universe was like, okay.
But I didn't go, okay, this is manifestation and I'm doing it. But in my head, I just went, that's what I want to achieve then. So.
Okay. I like that.
I don't know.
So Rejections and failures. This is just a little one I'll do to start off. So I posted my first episode of the podcast with Kate Barron, which is great. She's really easy to talk to. I liked the way the episode sounded. So I was like, I'm going to post the full episode on YouTube. So I made a little video that goes at the beginning and the end with like little graphics, which I'd never done before. And I was so proud of myself for accomplishing it.
I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you. But then I posted on YouTube, and a day later, my sister was like, "Oh, you spelled your name wrong." And I was like, "What?" So this, I don't know if you can see this on the camera. So this part here, where it says my the video, like, I don't even know what the effects are called. It came in, and my was spelled wrong. I just put funny with one N. And I can't believe I didn't notice it. So it's up there. I've left it up there because I'm like, this is a podcast about rejections and failure. I'm going to leave my failure up there. But I was like, I can't believe I did that. So that's just, a small example of a little failure, but it was something that made me feel pretty stupid.
Well, don't worry about that because that's just a little thing. But also you should change it because that means no one can find you now.
Well, I can't. It's already posted. It's already posted. Like I can't change it.
Do it again. Can't you? Can't you just repost it?
No, I mean, I could, but like...
I don't know, I just worry that all those followers...
You really... The 54 people that have watched the video, I'm sure are people that already follow
on average, probably 5% would follow, so...
You know what? You're making me feel even worse about this whole situation.
That's great. That's good. You should... Yeah, but I won't worry about that. I always make mistakes like that. It's it's just... You've got lots to do. There's lots going on.
Okay.
You've got a new podcast you've got to try and...
That's pretty much all I have going on.
Oh, then you should feel bad.
Yeah, I definitely feel bad because I spent hours on this. Like I literally spent like hours and hours at my computer being like, I can do it all. I'm a modern woman. Look at me go. Computers aren't just for men anymore.
To be fair, I don't think that word's spelt right, is it?
Funny?
Yeah, because like if you take an N out, it's still funny, isn't it?
Well, I feel like they would look it up and it would probably still take them to my Instagram anyway.
Yeah.
It would be like, did you mean? Yeah. Unless there's someone out, unless there's a Michelle who's also funny and dumber than I am.
I'm going to start my own Michelle is funny with one N just to find.
Please do. Yeah. And then when you get famous on that and, that person gets TV deals, I'll have to hunt you down.
That'd be me. It'd be my character.
Your character, Michelle. I like that.
You've already had my Canadian character on there, Bobby Mayer.
Oh, yeah. You guys are very similar.
Yeah, we've been mistaken.
You're a lot more positive.
If I could do a Canadian accent, that'd be quite fun.
Can you?
No.
Have you tried?
I can't do any accents.
Can you say any words in like...
Any words?
There you go.
That's only because I've just got you
Any
here.
words? Yeah, that was very... There you go. I like that one. I can't do a British one. Sometimes I find myself slipping into it and I'm like, oh, this sounds like...
So you don't do the thing where you're on stage and you play a British character by putting the voice on?
No, I should though.
If you can do it, it's quite fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure the British people would love that.
I think they would though.
No, they wouldn't.
They're British people like you taking the piss out.
No, because they'll think, they'll assume I'm American right away.
Yeah.
And they'll hate it. Maybe if I open up and said I'm not American, I'm Canadian, then they'd be more apt to like it.
Do you not tell them that?
I always tell them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people are like, oh, good. Like people seem to relax a little bit.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what America has done to this country, but I'm happy to tell them I'm not part of
Canada,
it.
don't they?
You'd think.
I think so.
You'd think.
Don't they?
I mean, I feel like I'd get more if everyone loves Canada.
Wow. What do you want?
I don't even know. That's probably the problem.
Yeah.
I just want stability. I want stability. Yeah. I want something where I know that this is my path in life. Does that make sense? Where you're doing something, you're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do.
But you are doing it. Stand up. Stand up's the best. Stand up's the best job in the world.
Sure. I'd like more money. That's probably the way to put it.
Okay.
I'd like more money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't pay that great.
It doesn't.
No.
But if you keep going, it will eventually.
That's not a thing.
It is. Yeah, it will. Really? You just got to keep going.
I'm pretty sure I could name like 5 comics we both know who've been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah.
And they're probably making less than we are.
But have they done everything they can?
Yeah, well, we didn't say that.
No. So you're doing it. You're doing this. You're putting videos out. You're putting clips out.
Well, you're killing it right now.
All it takes is one video to go viral and then it can change the game.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, you just got to keep doing it. It's just consistency. That's the key.
Well, you're killing it right now. I love to see your social numbers have been going up even in the short time I've known you.
Yeah, thank you.
And you don't even seem like somebody that cares a lot about that. I don't know why.
I don't...
but you don't give off the vibe that somebody's like, oh, I'm hungry for followers. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I've always had I've always sort of had a good work ethic. So I just know that if I'm consistent and I just keep doing it, it will happen.
So you think consistency is key?
100%.
Okay, that's good to hear.
It's just that stroke of luck. It's so weird because I'll put loads of clips up and I don't really see the difference between one or the other. But then one will just take off. for whatever reason.
Okay.
And then others just won't. And then I've reposted a video from like 2 years ago because I just hadn't had time to edit anything new. Mm-hmm. And that same one took off again. So it's something about that particular video that gets people's attention.
You just got to keep throwing stuff out there and hope something works out. But what hasn't worked out for you? What is a rejection or a failure that when you look back on, you think maybe it was good for you because it helped shape you who you are, or is there something that haunts you?
I always try to look at positive of a rejection.
You seem like that. Probably why we don't hang out more.
Yeah, is it really annoying you? No, I really hate a rejection, so I use it to motivate me to do stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm more of a... Oh, they found me. I'm more of a... What was I saying? Yeah, so I like a reason to do things. So I like something to motivate me. So if I've had a rejection, that really motivates me to do. So it's like when I started stand-up, there were sort of people close to me that they weren't sort of not support that. No, they weren't. I think they just didn't think I could do it.
Like, do you mean people that you already knew, like people in your circle?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I think so they weren't that encouraging of it because they thought, why is he trying to do this? Do you know what I mean? But I use that to be, no, I'm going to show you. Do you know what I mean? So that motivates me to keep trying. And if I have a bad gig, it's the same thing. That just makes me go, right, I've got to do something. I sort of rework whatever has not worked or sort of look into it. But like I had, so I've had a lot of job rejections in the past.
Okay.
So I got a job straight after university and my boss really didn't like me. Was it one of those things where the second you met your boss, you were like, oh, he doesn't like me. This isn't. Yeah, well, there was a second in command boss.
Okay.
And the main boss, I think, liked me in the interview. But I'm not. But another thing, I'm not very good at interviews, like work interviews. I'm really bad at them.
I'm really good at those. And then I'm terrible at the job.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I'm really bad at interviews, but I'm much better than I give the impression I would be.
I oversell myself, and they're like, "This is amazing," and then I get there, I'm like, "I don't know how to do any of this."
I could never really say. Actually, it's only a recent thing, that self-promotion thing that everyone has to do now in comedy. When I started comedy, that was really frowned upon.
I know.
To do any kind of self-promotion.
Well, I'm terrible at self-promotion in comedy.
Right.
It's weird.
No, you need to use that interview technique to promote yourself in comedy.
Maybe.
That's what you've got to do.
Okay.
Because I don't even second think it now, but I used to think, oh, what are people thinking? Oh, I've said I'm doing all these gigs. Do you know what I mean? But now I don't care.
So do you think the second in command didn't want to hire you right from the get-go?
What's that? The second hand didn't like me in the interview. No,
and could you tell?
Yeah, well, because he told me. Oh. So after I got the job, he literally said, your interview was terrible. But then I think the others liked me. They got a nice vibe from me because they thought I was a nice person. But he was like a military guy. So if you don't do it properly, then you shouldn't get the job, in his opinion, I think. And that was like a 2-year. It was what do you call it? A graduate job. And normally, people would then find another job to do within that time. It's like a stopgap, and you go on to another thing. Mm-hmm. But because I started comedy, it was a perfect job for me to do alongside that. And I just never left. So it got to the end of the 2 years, and then it was at a university. And then I think policy-wise, I don't think they can just get rid of you. So they then had to create, and the other guy who started with me also stayed. So they had to create a new post, but it was the same job. And they had to re-interview us and re-interview other people. So I had to do another interview with this guy. But at this point, he was the main boss because the other guy had left. So this guy doesn't really like me. And he also didn't like me because I told him I wanted to be a comedian. And that was a big mistake because he was like, well, if you're focused on that, then you're not going to be focused on this. So it was an uphill battle with him. And then I interviewed, and it just took forever for them to tell us if we got the jobs or not. And eventually he brought me in and he said, we were giving you the job, which is a job I've already been doing and been doing an absolutely fine job at. And I was sort of, oh, that's good. And then he went, I didn't want to give it to you. Literally said that to me. He said, but HR made me.
That's so funny.
Isn't that mental?
It sounds like, so do you think that he reposted the job and changed the job just to do the interview so he could get rid of you? And
I think he had to do that policy-wise with the university.
But in his mind, he was like,
yes.
oh,
yeah.
okay.
And there was another guy there that interviewed from somewhere else that he thinks was perfect for the job. So he wanted this other guy and to get rid of me, but they weren't allowed to get rid of me. So that happened. And then I then went for a promotion. I think I went for two promotions.
So you stayed at the job knowing he didn't want you there?
Yeah, because it was perfect for work.
Okay.
And also I loved it in the sense that really nice people. It was something I was interested in. I worked in a sports department in a university. It was just a really nice vibe working in the uni. It was just him that didn't like me, and everyone else. I think because everyone else liked me, I think that he didn't like that as well. It was a weird thing. And then I went for two promotions. One, I interviewed badly, like normal, and I didn't get it. And then the second promotion I went for, I cheated. So
you cheat?
There was a guy who worked with me that I was really good friends with. He has been on interviews before from the other side, and he knows there's these certain questions that always get asked. So he gave me the questions.
Oh,
so I could actually get the perfect answers for every question. And also this promotion, I was the perfect person because I got all the experience, and no one that was being interviewed had the same experience as me. I went into the interview and I gave every perfect possible answer. And I could tell he was fuming because it was him, and then other people had to be in there as well. And he could tell that I was just giving the perfect answers. And then it took ages again to find out if I got it or not. And he didn't give it to me. And he gave it to a guy that had been working as a carpet fitter.
Oh, didn't even have the experience
no
for
sports experience at all. And to be fair, that guy, I ended up being really good friends with him, and he was great. But on paper, I should have got the job, but I didn't. So that's another rejection. But that just kept motivating me to do comedy, because I was like, well, I'm not going to get anywhere with it.
How long did you stay at that job after that?
Oh, after, I don't know. I was there a long time, about 5-6 years.
Do you ever look up that guy that hated you and see what he's doing with his life?
Yeah. He's
okay, good. I'm glad you do that.
He got sacked, yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Do you know why? Like, did you get the gossip?
Just because he's a bad boss.
What a failure.
Yeah.
I love that. So it started out as like rejection for you, but in the end, he's the final failure.
Of course. Yes, brilliant. What a good story. Is that annoying? Because you wanted proper... it still is a failure.
No, it's not annoying. I think it's just very like...
But you put a positive spin on that for me. That's nice of you.
I what?
You put a very positive spin on it at the end.
I did.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, I think you handled it differently than I would have. Like, if I knew that someone hated me, I don't think I could stay at the job.
Can I tell you something else that he did?
Please.
It's mad. He was a very competitive guy. And so we did this. So it was a Rugby World Cup, and we did is it an accumulator? No. What's the thing where everyone picks out a team blindly, and that's your team, and then if you win them some money. What's that called? Is it that's not an accumulator. That's a...
I have no idea.
Oh, that's annoying. There's a word for it. There's literally a word for it.
It's a type of sports betting.
Yeah, it's just within friends. So everyone puts a tenner in, and there's so many teams, and then whoever picks out the winning team. Sweepstake. That's the one. So everyone was doing this. Everyone had picked out their teams, and it got to a point where there were 2 teams left to pick out of the hat. And it was me and the boss left to pick. So we both went in together, and one of the teams was New Zealand, which is a good pick, and the other one was, I think, Japan. I don't know how good Japan are now, but back then they weren't that good. And what he did, he picked first, and he took the bit of paper out because they're folded up, took it out, he looked at it, he went, New Zealand, and put it back in. So there's no evidence that it was New Zealand other than him looking at it, putting it back in, New Zealand. So what had happened is it was Japan, and he went New Zealand, put it back in. But what he'd done is he hadn't folded it up properly. So when we left, we were so shocked. We obviously didn't question him because he's the boss. And when we left, the one that was half open was Japan. So... Isn't that mad that someone would do that?
That's pretty mad.
It's like so competitive, but he wouldn't even let me get one up on him by something that's an accident. Like, or not an accident, but it's like anything can happen. Like, what do you call it? Oh,
I can't believe nobody called him out on it.
I'm not that sort of guy.
No, you don't seem like that sort of
guy. No, I wouldn't. I don't see the point.
Which makes me wonder if there's like a long game evil in you. Do you know what I mean? Like often people who aren't that type, it's because they go home and they're planning, you know what, in 15 years, I will be here and I'll see him. And that, you know,
there's a reason
you have a little bit of that? I don't think you do.
I planned it. Have I got what? Evil in me?
Not evil, but like revenge.
Vindictive? Revenge. I don't know. No, I don't. I would never. In my head, I might think I'd like that.
Okay,
but I would never. I've never.
You're not going to waste your time or energy.
No, because by the time you get round to it, if it's that far down the line, it's not the point, is there? And like you said earlier, it's all worked out.
That's true.
I'm doing what I'm doing.
That must mean you have good karma.
I've got my favourite job in the world, and I'm doing what I want to do, and you know, I'm touring, which is what I've always wanted to do.
Oh yeah,
he's not. So
that's a really good point.
Yeah, so it's fine. It's all worked out.
Have you had any like things that you would call failures in show business? I mean, I'm not just talking about like a bad show, but like something where maybe you were given an opportunity and you absolutely blew it.
Absolutely blew it.
I mean, I know that's putting you on the spot a bit, so feel free to just say no.
Well, the old new act competitions, I blew a lot of those finals. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So
you made it all the way to the finals and then tanked in the final round?
Really tanked.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had quite a few of those. But it took those failures for me to work out how to do the finals. Mm-hmm. And then again, this is going to be annoying because it ended up, I had some more successful ones, but it took those really bad ones. Like I did the English Comedian of the Year final in 2009. I was very new. I was too new for that because anyone could enter, so pros could enter as well. Mm-hmm. And I had like good semi-final, and then I got to the final and I just ate it big time. Like nothing from the audience, and I panicked and I started going quicker and quicker. And what was worse, I had about 20 people I knew in the audience and they were silent too.
That's the worst.
I know.
That's the worst. Yeah. I did a contest, like I was in a finalist for Canada's Top Comic like years ago.
Oh, cool.
And I made it all the way to the finals and I was convinced I was going to win. That's the first time I gave up manifesting because I was like, I've manifested this win. I'm going to win the money. Like, because it was like a big money prize.
That might be the issue because what that says to me is if the first couple of bits don't land, that's a lot of like, oh shit, suddenly. Whereas I always come from the other way, is I always assume I'm going to be bad and then it can only be nice. Maybe. But I remember like we had to draw numbers to see the order. And I had like my acting agent there at the time. I had a bunch of friends I hadn't seen in years that were all coming, and I drew second, which isn't a bad spot, but the person who drew before me, I knew they weren't a strong comic. And I was like, okay, this can go like either way. It can make me look great or the audience won't be warmed up. And the audience was not warmed up. I hope they're listening now.
So I hope they are too. But I don't even know if they still do comedy anymore, but I went on. And you know, when the first few jokes, especially when you open with stuff that you normally kills, you're like, these are my go-to kill jokes. They don't land. Yeah. You're like, oh, fuck. This is one of those sets. There's no way to drag myself out of it.
Yeah. And also, when it's a competition.
Huge theater show.
When it's a competition, if the first jokes don't work, you're not winning.
No, that's exactly what happened.
You instantly know you're not winning. So you now got 4 minutes and 30 seconds where you know you're just doing it for nothing.
That's exactly what happened. And then all these people I hadn't seen in years wanted to like meet up after, and I just laughed.
Yeah, really?
I just laughed. I was like, I can't see people after that.
Yeah, I was so embarrassed after that one.
Yeah.
Really embarrassed. Because people from school who'd never seen me do comedy came because it was in London. They just heard it was happening. But it's know that they were there and they weren't laughing. But I don't blame them because they're in the whole environment that's awkward and they're feeling awkward. They're probably more nervous than I am before I go out.
Probably. And part of their mind was probably like, is it worse if we laugh? Because then it's like, you know, you don't want to be like, they're laughing out of pity.
Yeah, it's terrible. So I had the bad one there. I did the Amuse Moose final in 2009. Mm-hmm. And hadn't learned from my lessons from that one. And again, really good semi-final, but I was more relaxed then. It was in like a proper comedy club. But as soon as you put a final on it, everyone's a bit more judgy, I think, in the audience. Tanked that one. And I really remember that because that's where I bonded with Danny Ward, who does my tour support and my my podcast with me. Because there was a point, him and Jim Campbell, I've just outed these for having bad gigs, but that's really rude. But I remember we were sort of, there's a bit at the end where there's an industry and there's like a room and everyone was sort of
like schmoozing.
And it was us three in the corner and no one spoke to us. Like it was a real, like, we were like lepers, but they don't want to come anywhere near us.
I feel like, and I hope this isn't an insult, you don't seem like much of a schmoozer.
No.
And I say this because
I've learned more about that since, but it's not natural at all.
Well, when I did Edinburgh Fest in 2022, I was at one of those industry parties, and I can schmooze if I'm in the mood.
Yeah.
But if I'm not in the mood, I don't I'm not good at it. And I remember just sitting by myself and I was like, I feel like a loser. And I looked over and you and Danny were in a corner also by yourself.
Were we?
Yeah.
Really? Where was this?
This was at the Dave party.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
really? That's so
yeah, you were sitting
funny.
at a table by yourself in the corner. And I was like, I'm not the only loser here. Not that you guys were losers, but it
we're
made me
the cool
feel
ones.
it made me feel better.
Oh, good.
Because
that's why we did it. We're like, oh, Michelle's
no,
on
because
her own.
I
We better
felt
go
like I ended up
better.
just leaving. I should have came over and hung with you guys, but I ended up just leaving. But I felt like everyone else at that party,
so I had
either when I would try to talk to them or go to talk, they were just kind of like looking to be like, who's here that's important to talk to.
To be honest, the reason when going to that party, I wasn't even looking to schmooze. We just went to go and have a chat and the thing. So we weren't even, that wasn't even on my radar because, so that's the bonus of doing sort of well on social media and things. You don't have to buy into any of that nonsense because I can tour now without having to do that.
That's what I find like, I don't want to use the word inspiring. I don't want to inflate your ego too much, but it is inspiring. Like seeing how well you're doing is amazing because I think for me, and I've talked about this a little bit on the pod, so I don't want to go too much into it. But for me, I started to feel like a failure because I kept waiting for somebody to give me that opportunity and to give me that career. Yeah. So in my mind, I thought once I get an agent, everything will fall into place. And then
the trouble is everyone thinks that.
Right. But then I couldn't get an agent. Right. So it just came to a point where I was like, do I give up or do I try to make this myself, you know? And that's when I kind of was like, okay, I'm just going to try to make my own fan base because a lot of the goals I do want are achievable without that industry push if I just put in the work myself. And I was so lazy and I didn't do it. I have no excuse for that.
Yeah, that's normal. It just takes that moment to then go, right, I've got to do this now. Yeah. But then I've been to one industry part, it wasn't even a party, it was like a get together thing that we were invited to because we did, we got, so in Edinburgh last year, we won the panel prize for the Edinburgh Awards because Danny and I put on a charity gig every day for our friend that died, Gareth Richards.
Oh, right. I heard about that. Okay.
Yeah. So he died in a car crash on the way back from a gig in like April. So he had his space for his Edinburgh show. So we just took his space over.
I knew about that show. I didn't realize that you had organized that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So Danny and I, we sort of booked it and then ran it every day. And then we got the awards for that. So then just off the back of that, we got invited to a drinks with Sky. And it's so nice because I didn't go under any pressure for like, schmoozing or anything. But then I realized like these people are just normal people. People that work for these places, so you just chat to them like normal people. You shouldn't like. Whereas a few years ago, when I was younger, I'd have been so like nervous and not wanting to say the wrong thing, or there's so much pressure on those engagements. But they're actually just normal people. Yeah, so you just have if you can try and remember that, it's much easier because you're not putting that pressure on them. Oh God, it's this person.
Yeah, I think for me, like I'm really good at talking to people in a lot of situations, but sometimes I just can't flip that on. Do you know what I mean? And it's not because they're industry. It's just I don't go out a lot. I don't drink. So if I'm not in the mood to socialize, I just can't. I can't fake it. And a lot of those industry things, you have to be able to fake it if you're not in the mood. And I don't have that ability. No. So when I'm on, I'm great. But when I'm off, it's like I just don't want to be there and I can't hide it.
It's funny. I try to go into performer mode if I don't feel like it. You know what I mean? Just try and be. Because when you're up on stage, that's not your natural state, is it really?
See, I feel like it is for me. And a lot of people I know would disagree with that. A lot of people are like, oh, it's a character or it's an exaggerated version or it's whatever. But I sometimes feel like I'm more myself on stage than I am in like a social situation.
Yeah. Well, so I do feel natural on stage when I'm up there. I do feel myself. But what I mean is like you would make, if you're on stage, you would talk to someone in the audience because it's all part of the thing, the moment. So when you're talking to them, you've got that confidence. So it's the same thing of when you're in that social situation, you normally you might not want to talk to someone there, but if you're in stage mode, I'm going to talk to them because that's what I would be like when I'm on stage. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I do that for dates as well. Like I'm in compare mode when I'm on dates.
Do you date a lot?
I don't get time at the moment. Okay. But I if I can, I do. But I was when I was talking about rejection. When I was at school with girls, terrible. Like I was just a tall, lanky, ginger kid that it was just, and when you're a kid at school, like being tall isn't an advantage.
No.
Whereas now it isn't. Isn't that weird that shifts?
It is weird.
Because like it was always the short guys that always did well with girls.
Well, it's like when you're a girl and you get boobs really young, you're embarrassed and it's like, you just open yourself up for teasing. But then when you're an adult, you're like, hey, I got tits.
Yeah. So it's weird. It's mad. But so I did. So as a I didn't even get rejected because I'd never put myself out there because I knew I would get rejected. So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then it just came to a point where it was that I sort of decided, it was second year of sixth form. I was like, I'm coming into this new year. I was like, right, I'm just going to go in with a new angle. And I just thought I'll fake it. Do you know what I mean? Fake it till I make it. And because I just couldn't talk to girls. I just didn't do anything like that. And it was really funny. I remember this one moment that sort of changed everything. My tactic was, there was this girl I quite liked, but I'd never ever spoken to her. And she was in the year below. So she was just coming into sixth form, I think. Yeah. And her and a friend were sitting over there by the phone. And it shows how long ago it was, a proper payphone sort of thing. So my tactic was to go over, but not try, because I think if you go over and try to talk to someone, it is awkward just to start out of nowhere, start a conversation. It seems weird, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It's unnatural. And you could come across a bit weird. So my tactic was, I just went over as if I was going to the phone. I just went, all right, girls, how's it going? And then carried on. Right.
That's not bad.
No. So what happened was they went, oh, hello. And then I was like, I wasn't trying. So it wasn't like, oh, I got their attention. Mm-hmm. And then we'll do that a few times with that girl. And then once you've sort of engaged slightly, another time, if you just bump into her, you've got a reason to start talking because you've already sort of engaged. And then that worked, and I dated her for a bit. So it was like, oh wow, that's like that was just this fake confidence I was doing, and it worked. So then I just carried that on, and now it's sort of real how I am.
The confidence is real now.
Yeah.
So fake it till you make it.
I mean, I still naturally am a little bit introverted, I think, but who knows what's real now? Do you know what I mean? Do you always stay the same, or can you suddenly be a confident person?
I think people can change.
Yeah.
I really think people can change.
I am way more confident than I used to.
I'm confident.
I mean, I would never be able to do stand-up back then. That wouldn't even, it wasn't even on my radar because I was so shy talking in front of people. So, but now I feel natural when I'm on stage, as in I just feel comfortable. Like I don't get nervous at all.
Do you get nervous when you bring maybe a new lady you're dating to see you do comedy for the first time?
No.
Okay.
Because, is this going to sound awful? I don't think it's going to sound awful.
I feel like, and this isn't a bad thing, but your rejections and failures keep leading to something good.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
But that's again, it's that sort of, I got rejected so much. I went, right, now, what do I have to do to change the game?
Okay.
To make it work? And that's what I did with that sort of fake confidence thing. So I think that's the key, is to just try and take that rejection and then use it.
I think it is key. And I think it's hard for a lot of people to do that. Like I know my first instinct is to just be angry.
Yeah.
Not even maybe angry at myself, angry at the world, and angry at the person who rejected me. And it takes me a bit.
Yeah.
Then generally it takes maybe 3 days. Then I'll get that fire in me. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to go down like this.
Yeah.
You know?
I also don't open myself up to rejection that much.
In terms of like, how you mean?
Like, if we talk about dating and things, I don't think I don't ever put myself out there too much. I sort of ease out there. Mm-hmm. And then by easing out there, you then get that sort of vibe back. And then by the time you get to the point where you make a move or whatever, you know it's going to happen because you got the vibes right. I would never just go straight in, because then that's when you get rejected, isn't it? Instantly.
I think it's hard for guys to go straight in too.
Yeah.
Like I think girls can do it,
right,
because I do think you can just go straight in, and 9 times out of 10, any guy will be like, yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah,
and then he'll get to know you and be like, no, this isn't what I want. But I think girls have to get to know you first, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But I think with men, you are far easier creatures in the sense that we can just be like, I'm just going to make a move and it'll probably work out.
Yeah.
Not in the long run, but in that moment, it'll probably work out.
That must be nice.
It is nice, but it's also, it gives you fake confidence. Because I have this thing where any relationship I've had, it's always moved really quick. Like I love. I love being with somebody. I move fast, but the guys move fast too. And I've learned, and I've since started telling guys, you're going to think you're in love with me for 3 months. You're going to be like, this girl's amazing. And then after 3 months, you're going to be like, I don't think so. That has happened to me so many times.
Right. Yeah.
Where I just move fast, they move fast, and now I know it's a pattern where they're going to hit the 3-month mark and be like,
is that because you've moved too fast?
No, I think it's just because when you don't get a chance to get to know somebody, once you do get to know them, it can seem more shocking almost, as opposed to if I slowly introduce somebody to how annoying I really am, maybe they'd get a chance to warm up to it.
Why are you annoyed?
I'm really annoying.
Are you?
I'm a hard person to date or be in a relationship with.
What's annoying about you?
I mean, little things.
Yeah.
Like I lose things constantly. Like in the morning, for example, I will lose my keys and my phone a million times, and then I'll run around. And if somebody's there, I'll be like, where are they? You have to help me find them. And they'll drop everything to help me find them. And then I'll be like, found them, had them the whole time. Like I'm a very chaotic person, and my energy is also very chaotic.
Right.
And not everybody can handle that.
That's why you missed your spelling.
That's 100% what it is. I rushed. I rushed through things. And I do that in dating as well. I mean, I'm married now, so I don't have to worry about that. But I rush through things, and I feel like I hide myself because I'm like, oh, they like me. And then you get to a point where you can't hide it anymore. And then I'm like, here I am. Instead of just being myself from the beginning and weeding out people who probably wouldn't be able to deal with me.
Yes. Okay.
It's tough. It's a tough world out there.
It is a tough world. Yeah. But you're married now, so that's good. I find that when something bad happens, so say I have a bad breakup, that's always motivated me to write more.
Me too. But that's the problem with comedy, because I think sometimes I'm funnier when I'm miserable, and that's a dangerous place to get.
That is true.
It is true.
Yeah.
But then I feel like
I think you are, because
maybe I'm attracting the misery on purpose, subconsciously.
For the stand-up.
Yes.
Great.
But what if I just can't? What if I get too happy and then I'm not funny anymore?
Don't get happy. It is true. That does work.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think what else isn't really related, sort of related. I found out that when I stopped eating sugar, and then I got less funny.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yeah. I cut sugar for ages. I just couldn't get inspired.
I was better when I was off sugar.
Really?
My brain was so clear.
That's mad.
I have ADHD though, which apparently sugar really affects people with ADHD.
There we go. That explains that maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I then found when I had sugar, suddenly my brain was firing. I wasn't eating loads, but I had some. So now I know not to do that. But I don't know if that's a thing. Or it's just me. I don't know.
Well, I mean, sugar is a drug, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like, it's addictive. It's a drug, and it sends off that signal in your brain that, like, you know?
I've got a really sweet tooth.
Me too. I love it so much.
That's my thing. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs or anything.
Sugar is definitely my thing. For sure. And I definitely started eating more of it when I stopped drinking too.
Yeah.
I don't even think on purpose. It was just a natural thing, you know?
Yeah, it's just something to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
I found that when I was doing long journeys, I was eating so many sweets and things because I get so bored when I'm driving. I feel like I need to have something. So I changed it to chewing gum. And it does hit.
I swallow gum.
That's okay.
It's weird. I can't not. And I'll try not to, and then I'll just be like, oh, it's gone. I swallowed it.
What?
I eat it like
That's
candy.
The maddest thing I've ever had.
I eat minimum a pack of gum a day.
Do
like
you even
candy.
chew it much? Just eat it and just straight in and down.
Yeah. I can't help it.
Bubble gum tastes amazing. But no sweets taste as good as that. So I always wanted to eat, as a kid, I always wanted to eat bubble gum.
I did. And I continue as an adult.
Does it cause any problems?
No. Every now and then I'll get a stomach ache and I'm like, why is my stomach hurt? And then I'm like, oh, I ate a whole pack of grape gum.
We're always turning this into my podcast for a second.
Okay.
I had a joke that I always thought was a good concept, but it never worked. And it was about gum but the trouble is, I think you're cutting 50% of the audience out because it's about a male thing. So when you go to a urinal, there's quite often gum in the urinal where people just spat it into the urinal, right?
Okay.
Did you know that was a thing? No.
No.
So then my thing was like, I thought it'd be funny to misunderstand why that's there and to assume, oh, you don't want to swallow gum because that's how it comes out.
That's really funny, actually.
Yeah, but never worked. Could never get that to work. And I think so you're losing the women in that unless you set it up that's a thing. I think
if you could set it up, but you don't do a lot of setups though, do you? It's just mostly the one-liners.
I can, but yeah, maybe it's just not my sort of comedy.
Maybe, but I think it's funny.
Yeah, I think so. Because just for someone to misunderstand, or maybe if I pitched it as a kid, That's what I thought. Because then you got that naive brain going, I never wanted to.
Yeah, because you could say when you were a kid, you would always see gum in the urinal at school or wherever. And then...
Because I didn't actually want to say you piss it out, because I feel that's just spoon feeding too much. Like it's too... I wanted them to get there. They can figure it out. But they didn't.
Really?
No.
Some people are really stupid.
Maybe I should reapproach it.
I think you should.
Yeah, there we go. That's worth coming on.
Thank you. And I feel like I feel like this has been natural, so I've definitely gone over time. But is there anything else failure-wise or rejection-wise that you want to share or you need to get off your chest?
Nothing off the top of my head.
Okay.
What was the other thing you told me you were going to ask me something else?
I'm getting to that.
Oh, cool. Sorry.
I am getting to that.
I was just trying to help.
That's okay. Thank you. If you woke up tomorrow,
yeah,
your phone was blowing up. You had notifications like crazy.
Yeah.
And everyone hated you.
Yeah.
Everyone hates Mark Simmons.
I don't like that.
Is there one thing in your mind that if you got a message and said, Mark, what did you do? Everyone hates you.
Yeah.
That you were like, it's probably this.
Yeah. I think that would be a joke that got misinterpreted.
Okay.
Because it's quite a dangerous thing. Because I had a recent thing. It's not extreme, but so I don't really. So a problem I have is I don't really keep up with the news. So, for example, like I have a joke in my current show. I won't give the joke away, but it's about it's just silly wordplay about the concept of a hurricane. But I've done the joke a few times when there's been a big hurricane causing lots of problems and people dying and all sorts. And then I wouldn't even have really thought about it. And I start doing the joke. And even though it's literally nothing to do with anything, there's nothing negative in the joke. As soon as I start it, mention hurricane, the whole audience think I've written this specifically for the thing. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, I have no idea why this isn't working. So, and then I had another example recently where, what was the reason? I put something out on my stories on Instagram where I was just asking for what should I write jokes about, and I'll just get people to give me topics. I think that was it. And someone put a picture of the Titanic, right?
Okay.
And then someone put a picture of a sink, like where you clean your teeth. So they're not related at all because they're different people. But I made a connection of like, someone put a Titanic and someone put a sink, but Titanic sinked. So I thought, that's interesting. So I just posted about that. I didn't realize that those rich people were on that submarine. Oh,
you didn't know that that's what was happening?
No, because it was like literally the day.
Nobody would believe that.
No. So yeah, exactly. So I put this joke up, and then a bit later I got loads of messages from people going, "Oh, it's a bit soon, mate." And I was like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about." And then someone told me the story, and I was like, "Oh, fuck!" Like I didn't know. And also the joke, what I put up wasn't really, even if it wouldn't have made sense that I'd put that up in relation to what was happening, because it wasn't actually anything to do with it. But just by trigger words, Titanic. And someone had obviously put Titanic on the thing because they were trying, because they knew about the story and they were trying to get me to do something.
You fell for it.
Yeah, I had no idea. But I mean, they must have assumed I'd know. They just wanted a dark joke.
Everybody knew, Mark.
Yeah,
everybody knew.
I know, but I didn't make the either I'd heard something about it and I hadn't made the connection, or I can't remember. But it's really scary that you could put something out there and just get into trouble for by accident.
Yeah, and that's true.
And it's happened lots of times with this. So
that would be what your brain would go to.
I'd think of a joke at night. I'd tweet it and then put it out there, and I'd wake up in the morning and something had happened.
Yeah,
and I'm cancelled by accident. That's what I think would happen.
I think that's a good answer. And that's probably, I think, what a lot of the reasons would be for comics, just putting stuff out there and not really realizing like how it comes off.
Yeah. Yeah. But some comics like that, don't they? They want to do
some comics look for controversy to post jokes about it.
Yeah, well,
that works for them.
Well, that's what gets comments.
But the thing is that I don't think that would work for someone like you or me, because I don't think we wouldn't own it in that sense. Exactly. I wouldn't want to hurt people like that,
No.
But some people, that's their whole thing. They want to be the controversial comic, and they want to go for that, and I guess that works for them.
Yeah, like I don't try to do anything controversial really on stage, but sometimes I think a wordplay that has a slight link to something controversial, and if I can to do it, I have to set it up in a different way than normal, because people just don't want it from me. They don't buy it. Do you know what I mean?
I get that.
So if I'd set up a section, these are some jokes I came up with, but they're a little bit dark, just to prepare people, and then they're like, oh, it's just him doing dark jokes, rather than them think I mean what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, it's the only way I can get it to work.
Oh. Well, yeah. I think definitely in terms of comedy, like you have a style of comedy and a style of joke writing that I wish I had that mode, because it's really original.
Right.
Because I find
your stuff's original.
You're not, it's different, but your style is original.
Oh, okay. There's
you know
not
what
many
I mean?
people do it.
There's not many people that do it, and you do it well. You know, because every now and then you'll see a comic who's just a regular run-of-the-mill club comic. They'll try and do wordplay or one-liners, and they just can't pull it off. Even if what they're saying is funny, they can't say it in the way that it needs to be said. And I really like that about your style of comedy.
It is an albatross around your neck as a style, because it's hard to come up with that many quality ones.
Well, also, like you said, if you're on stage and everyone in there is like, oh, we hate one-liners. You're like, well, you got another 19 minutes of this to go.
But some people their brains just don't work in that way. It's like my mum doesn't really get my jokes easily. Like, she just doesn't.
I don't think my mum would either. I'd have to explain it to her.
And sometimes I get audience members to say the husband or the wife is really into it, and they bring their partner, and they don't really know what I do. You can tell that every so often the partner goes, what was that one? And then I can see her explaining it, but I like that because then I use it and I try and bring them along. And if I could get those people on board, that's like a win, I think, for me.
Where can people find you?
I'm on tour.
Yeah.
It's been yesterday was the 120th date of the tour.
That's insane.
I couldn't believe it.
Good for you.
Thank you. And we're doing another year of it. So the same show.
Well, I don't know when this episode is going to air, but if you're doing another year of it, come check it out. Come check it out.
Yeah.
Where do they get tickets?
marksimmons.co.uk or my social media @JokesWithMark. The link in the bio is the ticket link.
That's great. I'm so happy for you. And I'm not happy for a lot of comics, so I really mean that when I say it. Nice. Yeah. Absolutely. I hope you had fun. Like I said, I'm still learning as I go.
This is great.
Really?
This is
okay.
This
good.
is the
that
real
makes me
deal.
feel good. Thank you.
Yeah. No rejections coming from this.
I remember talking to you about starting a podcast while I was on your podcast, and I know we've gone over time, and I got to wrap it up. But I did want to say, and you're going to tell me I'm crazy. Your podcast, okay. When you released the clip, I knew that I had gained some weight. I did not know how much weight I had gained until that clip came out of your podcast.
What are you talking about?
And it motivated me. I've since lost almost 15 kilos since then. Because I saw on camera and I was like, holy fuck. That's why, like...
Isn't that mad? Because, so one, that's good in a way if that's what you wanted to...
Yeah. I needed that motivation.
But...
I mean, my clothes being too tight.
No one else thought about that.
My clothes were all tight and I had to wear sweats every day, but I was like, my clothes shrunk. Like, it must be the dryer in the UK is different than the dryers in North America.
But it's always worse you looking at it, because we would never have looked at that and thought that. Do you know what I mean?
No, of course not. But in my mind, I was like, no, I'm not gaining weight. Everything is just getting smaller, but that's fine. It's just in my head. And then I saw that clip and I was like, it's not in my head anymore. And then I literally was like, okay, I need to motivate myself and cut out the junk. And so so thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I don't know how to feel about that. I think is that good? I think it's a good
I think it's
good
a good
for
thing
you.
too.
If you're happy at the end of it. But we didn't think, that's...
Well, of course not. You're not going to be like, thanks for coming on, you fat fuck.
There's nothing worse than getting sort of a clip and something about you in it you don't like. It's like that awful. Is worse. Yeah. You know it's
That's how I was, and I felt bad because like...
I'm so sorry.
I shared it. No. I would never ask you to do that. But I shared it. But I specifically shared it at a time where I knew not a lot of people. And so please don't do that to me when I ask you to share a clip. But I specifically did that. I was like, I'm sharing this at 3 a.m. Like, because I was like, it was awful. But no, so thank you for that. And thank you for
I'm sorry
like...
that gave you that feeling, though.
I needed it.
Yeah.
I needed it. Sometimes we really need the self-realization.
Must have been the angle.
It was not a great angle. It was it was like an upshot.
Right.
So no, it was not a great angle, but it was what I needed.
Well, come back
on the pod
and then we'll put the clips up. And
can you imagine if I look even worse when I come on and that's just something to do with your camera? You put on like a fat filter or something?
CGI. Just to make us look skinnier.
Well, thank you for coming. I will make sure to add your handle and get people to go see you. marksimmons.co. Is it CO?
Yes.
Do I say co or CO? Co. Yeah, I don't know how this stuff works in the UK. marksimmons.co.uk. Thank you for coming on. Everyone hates Mark Simmons. Yay!
Everyone hates you.